Hello! Thank you for joining me. So, thank you all for those super cool comments on my video yesterday. You know how to make a girl feel loved, so thank you. I'm super pleased with the results and the response and all that sort of thing, so thank you. But yeah, so I'm back to do the follow-up video that I talked about yesterday, which is talking about going to the DMV. Now, I know you're probably thinking, hey, Lindy, aren't you like 31 years old? Why do you need your learner's permit? Well, it's because I lost my license about 10 years ago. It was 9 years ago. So what happened was I didn't really drive between the ages of, are my tits lopsided? Oh my god. Like my boob butt crack is like off center. What's going on here? I put it on this top just for the video. That's how excited I am. Anyway, so oh well, the boobs are a little much actually, now that I'm looking at it. I feel like a whore. But, so yeah, I didn't drive very much between the ages of 16 and 22 because I had a car for a little bit in high school, but when I went to college, I moved to Boston and I just never had a car in the city because it wasn't worth it to me. Well, long story short, in 2009, I moved to Minneapolis. My sister gave me a car, and which had been in the family for a really long time, and I was working and blah 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 blah, and I got really sick. And this is a different video, but I have an autoimmune disease caused by my PTSD, which causes my body to attack itself. I didn't know it at the time, but basically my legs stopped working for a summer. So I just, just casually couldn't walk, covered in sores, that sort of thing. It was really fun. They thought I had gangrene. It was a really good time to be broke. Right, so I had to quit working and I sold my car to pay my rent, and also really great time to sell your car when you can't walk. It was the start of a really fun period in my life. But yeah, I had to sell my car, and I had a couple like parking tickets and a moving violation that I hadn't paid, but I was like, I can't afford to eat right now. Why am I going to pay tickets on a car that I don't even have anymore? I need to save my money for better things. And basically, ever since then, I've worked shitty retail jobs and had never had enough money to even consider buying a car, so I just never got my license back. Oh, they suspended my license for the unpaid tickets. I guess that's the part I left out there. Yeah, so they suspended my license because I never paid them. And now here it is, the year of our Lord 2019. I am an accountant. I have a respectable home and the means to buy a $1,000 piece of shit, and I want to do it, right? But you need a license to do that. So, long story short, I lost my car because I got sick, and then I was too poor to get it back. So I thought that I could just pay the fees off and they would just reinstate my license. But I went to the DMV a couple weeks ago and they were like, no, you need to do this whole thing over again like you are 15 years old. So in order to get my learner's permit, first I had to pay the fees. Then I had to pass the written test, which I did like 2 weeks ago. But then I was like, yay, I got my permit. And I went up to the counter and they were like, no, Kitty, oh my god. Like a horror movie. The door just partially opened and it was my cat. I live alone. Monkey. Anyway. So they were like, no, part of your ticket was a moving violation where, first of all, they pulled me over because they thought I was my mom. They were looking for my mom. And they pulled me over. So I'm going to go ahead and, this is another thing I'm going to blame on my mother. I got pulled over because they thought I was her. But yeah, when they pulled me over, I didn't have my proof of insurance on me, right? So that's part of the ticket. So they were like, you have to prove you have insurance before we're going to give you your license or your permit. So if you're wondering, yes, I'm still having an existential crisis. So they were like, you need insurance. And I'm like, I don't have a car. I don't even have a learner's permit. How am I supposed to get auto insurance? Boom! My sister put me on her policy. So I went in there today to finally get it sorted out. My actual road test, where I have to get in the car with the instructor, is in May. So very much looking forward to that. So, the DMV in Minneapolis. Do you remember a couple months ago on Twitter when the raccoon got stuck on the skyscraper in St. Paul? Okay, I want you to know that that was the building I worked in. And I had just gotten fired from there the previous week. So I was pretty bitter that this super exciting thing happened. We were the Raccoon Tower. I missed Raccoon Tower week. Are you fucking kidding me? But anyway, that's where the DMV is. So that's where I was today. I was at the Raccoon Tower. But like I said, I got fired from that job. So actually, I have some really shitty memories there. I was really, really miserable at that job. And actually, I stopped making YouTube videos right before I started that job. So we skipped that whole period if you're going back through my videos, because I was just totally overworked, hated the people, hated the environment, hated the job. Did I mention I hated the people? Hated the people. Hated them. And anyway, and I was just like, it's so far from my house. I had to travel 40 minutes each way on the train, just like constantly dodging crazy people and creepy dudes and just, ugh. Anyway, let me bring it back. So on the train ride there, I was fired in June. So it's been about 8-9 months, something like that. And so on the train ride there, I'm like having all of these flashbacks, going to this shitty job. I haven't been back there because why would I go to St. Paul? If you don't live in the Twin Cities, no one goes to St. Paul. St. Paul shuts down at 5 p.m. There's nothing to do there. It is a suburb of Minneapolis. Minneapolis is the real city. Anyway, so I'm like on this train, I'm like passing all these landmarks that I haven't seen, but they were all still so familiar because I worked at that job for like 6 months. And I just started feeling these really ugly feelings. I drank a Red Bull this morning when I woke up. Big mistake. I always think it's gonna make me feel good, and it doesn't because it's like 1,000,000 grams of sugar. So I'm already like, I'm feeling like, this day might not go very good. And when I got there, it was immediately when I got off the train, there's this church right there, and I have a very, very sad memory at this church that it's kind of haunts me. So my grandma died in September, and we were close, and she was really important to me, and it's just kind of turned my entire life upside down. Existential crisis. So every single year of my life, my grandparents called me on my birthday and sang happy birthday to me on the phone, right? My birthday is May 30th, so I was like a week out from getting fired at this shitty job. I was miserable, and I was getting out of work one day on my birthday, and I was walking up to the train station, and I stopped by this church to have a cigarette, and my grandparents called me on the phone to sing happy birthday to me. And I only talked to them for like 1.5 minutes because I could see the train coming, and I weighed the options, and I was like, I would rather hang up on my grandparents right now than spend 10 more minutes waiting for another train in this part of town. And You know, it was the last time that they were gonna call me for my birthday. I didn't know it at the time, but you know, it's, it's rough. So I passed this little churchyard where, you know, my grandma called me for my birthday for the last time, and it was like really sad. So, but by the way, not shy about crying on video. I can, like, I am 5'9" and I'm 5'8" of pure emotion, which is a joke that my grandma told me. Anyway, so I'm walking past this spot, and it's just like all of these memories of this shitty period in my life where I was so unhappy. And so I walk in through the same entrance where I would go to work every day, and it's like all the same restaurants and the convenience store and the DMV and the tower, the Raccoon Tower where I worked, you know? And so anyway, I get in line at the DMV, and I'm like, hello, I need to prove I have insurance, I need a copy of my driving record, and I need my learner's permit. And the lady behind the counter was like, that's like 3 different lines. And I was like, sign me up, bitch. Let's do this, you know? So I was there for 2 hours. First they told me, I went to the insurance window. They were like, you don't need to prove you have insurance. And I'm like, yes, I do. Yeah, that is definitely what they said to me. And she's looking on the computer. She's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, listen, lady, you are going to take this proof of insurance and you are going to put it on my record that I proved that I had insurance. Because my nightmare is showing up at the road test, and they say like, oh, well, you didn't have a document. I guess you'll have to schedule another one 3 months from now, because it takes 3 months to get in to see an instructor. Anyway, so got that taken care of. They put it on my record, right? Next I have to go to the records window, right? And like I'm very like sound sensitive. So this conversation happening behind me, and I'm like in the DMV, and the screen is like flashing numbers, and I'm so stressed out, and I'm like sad about my grandma. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. But it all worked out. I got myself my driver's permit. When she took my picture, I'm like, ah. By like, my body felt bad. I had the Red Bull. I had a lot of anxiety. I was sad about my grandma, blah, blah, blah. Your whole body feels bad, and then something really good happens. It's gonna be bittersweet. So it was kind of bittersweet. And then it was only like 11:45 or something, so I had a little bit of time. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, there is a tunnel system, an above ground, above street level tunnel system that connects the buildings downtown, because our winters are fucking crazy. It's like -50 degrees outside every single year. So they have this tunnel system. It's called the Skyway, that connects all the buildings downtown. And on my lunch breaks at this job that I got fired from, I had this route that I walked in the tunnel system that would take me like through old buildings, through this hall where I had my prom as a teenager, you know, restaurants, blah, 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 blah. It's like a mile that I would walk around downtown St. Paul on my lunch break. And I went ahead and I took the route again. And I thought that it was going to be kind of like triumphant, like, oh, I'm back and I have a great job now that I love, and I love the people I work with, and not getting hired at this job was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it led me to something so much better. And I'm back, I have my driver's permit, and I'm doing well for myself, you know? But it just kind of, I was just tired. I was kind of tired. So I guess that's being in your 30s, right? Like, I wanted to do this sort of like passionate walk around, like just kind of feeling my feelings about leaving this place and finding something better, but I was just like halfway through it. I'm like in the hall, where I had my prom, and I'm like, I could just have lunch though. But once you get into the Skyways, you have to complete the loop because you're just in a random building downtown. I was like blocks and blocks away from where I started. But anyway, so I went back. So now I have my learner's permit, and that means that I actually have to start driving again. I have to learn how to drive because I have not. Okay, I mean, my license has been suspended for 9 years, but I haven't driven at all in probably 3 or 4 years. And before that, it was only a couple times a year because, like, I'm the only sober person, or, you know, just I need to move my friend's car into a different parking spot. Like, that sort of thing. I've driven that way, but I have not driven a car, driven. I mean, I'm thinking about it now. It's probably been 5 years, actually. So, I guess that I'm going to start trial by fire tomorrow. I'm going to go to my sister's house, and she lives next to an abandoned Kmart, and so she's going to let me drive her van around the Kmart parking lot. I say trial by fire because I have a 1.5-year-old niece, Charlie, who I assume is going to be with us when we're doing this. My sister's a stay-at-home mom. So, I better get my safety, you know, right up there because I have my sweet 1.5-year-old niece in the car with us, so I can't be taking many risks, you know. But yeah, thank you for watching again. I would like to make these updates more of a regular thing. I don't know, I'm one of these, like, from here on out kind of people, like, oh, I'm gonna post every single day or every other day or whatever. I get really wrapped up in the fantasy of what I'm gonna do in the future. So I'm not gonna make any promises, but I definitely would like to make this a regular thing. Let's see if I do it, and I hope that I do. So thank you for joining me and listening to my weird story about the DMV, and I will see you guys soon.